All righty, we're live. Welcome back to the Unbridled Living in Costa Rica podcast. Today, hey, going to be good. Got some interesting stuff. If Costa Rica is so dang expensive, then why is it thousands of people I know are living in Costa Rica for under $750 a month? Matter of fact, today I'm going to prove to you how Costa Rica believes that anybody can live in Costa Rica on under $1,000 a month. So, hey, I can't wait to get into that and have fun. Hey, look. Hey, if this is your first time here, well, who are we? Well, I'm Alan. That's my wonderful co-host, Rebecca. Hey, we've been living in Costa Rica since November 2013, lived in over 25 different houses and locations. And look, we just have a blast sharing our perspective about living in Costa Rica. I don't know anybody out there that knows as much about Costa Rica as we do. And that's simply because we have traveled all over. But still, that doesn't mean we know everything. We're just simply sharing our perspective. And look, guys, we just love it when you come to the podcast. Matter of fact, if you show up early, if you take a look in the chats, man, we are chatting back and forth, talking and having a good time. So you are missing out if you wait until showtime to get on board. So we having lots and lots of fun. So
you were having too much fun. You almost forgot our mics.
I was I was hustling it the last couple of minutes. Rebecca's like, "Where's my mic?" I was like, "Oh my gosh, the mics! I forgot." So hey, I'm so glad that you are here today. So anyway, hey, before we get started, last week we weren't here. How come we weren't here last Sunday?
It was my birthday.
No way! It was your birthday.
And something you didn't tell people, it was also your birthday.
Oh,
you made it seem like it was all about me.
I have birthdays every year, so it ain't nothing special.
Yeah, our birthdays are exactly 2 weeks apart, so we usually do something on the weekend between.
Somewhere in between.
Somewhere in between.
So anyway, before we get into this interesting concept, I'd like for you to put in the chat box, what do you think and maybe you're already here, share what is your cost of living in Costa Rica. Eduardo, who's here almost all the time, he shared that, hey, look, he's living in Costa Rica on about $350 a month. Keep in mind, he goes back and forth. But wait, Eduardo, how is it you do that? $350 a month. So, hey, but I'm going to give out some secrets. I'd like for you to put in the chat box. Okay, in the chat box, what do you think your cost of living is? And if you haven't been here, how much do you think you need in order to live in Costa Rica? And we're going to be talking about that and just diving into all of that. And I'll be sharing some facts with you. But before we get started, what's been happening on the Off-Grid Homestead?
You got a lot done this week.
Man, did we ever get a lot done. Matter of fact, why don't we just do a little show and tell?
I love to get up early before the sun comes over the mountain and then watch as the first rays of sunlight peek over the mountain and the countryside is awakened by the light. It's my favorite time of the day, and, well, it's a signal that it's time to get back to work on the Off-Grid Homestead. Last you heard, I was painting the window trim.
All right, it took a few days, but I got them painted black. Now I just got to let them dry real well, and I can start putting the glass in.
I had to unload all of that heavy glass, and then Rebecca helped me to put all of the glass in place so I could install all of them. I think the hardest part in this whole deal was being careful not to break any more glass. This stuff is heavy and expensive.
All right, I finally got all the glass in, got all the trim painted. It looks great, but it sure does make that metal stand out. So soon I'll clean it and paint it black, but it's looking good.
But, oh boy, was it ever a job to clean those windows. But to our surprise, check out this beautiful visitor we had the next morning.
All right, here's the next step. There's the platform for the office, and I've got it out of the way. So now I'm going to take the power washer, and I'm going to go ahead and wash this floor. And once it dries, move that platform back and bolt it down. But the question people are asking, why wash it? Well, because there's going to be drawers underneath there. And when I go crawling underneath there, I want that to be good and clean when I put drawers there. Hey, if we can't do it right, let's not do it at all.
Now that the office platform is back in place, it's time to start building metal frames for the kitchen cabinets. The metal structure for the kitchen cabinets are coming along nicely, and we'll have shelves soon. Hopefully, I can go into town and try to find a huge slab of wood for the countertop. Most of this is temporary, so we can move in as quickly as possible, and eventually, I'll build out drawers and doors for these cabinets, and it'll look more like what you're used to seeing in traditional kitchen cabinets. In the middle of all this work, we took time off to spend a couple of days in Dominical to celebrate Rebecca's birthday. We found a nice little Airbnb that was close to the beach. Walked the town, relaxed, and enjoyed a few meals looking at the ocean. This is La Parcela. It's located on a little peninsula, and you can view the ocean from both sides of the restaurant. The monkeys come every evening in hopes of getting some free food. And of course, we must take time to get ice cream. Rebecca says, I need it. Before ice cream, I'm kind of like this poster we saw in one little coffee shop. Even Nikki thinks life is good in Costa Rica.
So if you've been wondering why I'm cranky, I ain't never cranky. Well, you now know I ain't had my ice cream for the day. All right. Hey, I hope you enjoy these little updates on what's been going on in the off-grid homestead. Hey, we've been having fun, and boy, we are getting so close to actually getting inside. You're not excited to leave the barn, are you?
No, I could just stay here forever.
What a wonderful woman. I'm taking bids. Anybody need a good woman? All right. Hey, thanks, folks, for all that, the birthday wishes for Rebecca and I. We greatly appreciate it. So, hey, let's get into it. And look, before we get into it, I always say this at the end, but the best way that you can actually support us is really to like, to comment, to share, especially after the live is over. When the live is over, if you'll comment and you'll share and like and share all that, the algorithm sees it, puts it out there, and it sees all this wonderful engagement, okay? So it's really a great way to support us. And hey, another great way to actually support us is, if you want to, we give everything away for free. We never sell anything. But if you'd like to just support the channel, because we don't have a Patreon or anything like that, well, you can join the members only community. $10 a month. You can cancel anytime you want. But the biggest benefit is that, hey, people have questions and we've got answers. And hey, you can ask those questions. I'm in that members area all the time, just answering questions. And so, hey, it's really a great way. Now, time is money. So, if you don't have time to do all that, you can always do a phone consultation. But hey, we don't sell anything on this channel. We love to just give away our information for free. And that's one of the reasons our channel took off, is because, hey, we're not trying to sell you Costa Rica. I don't have a product and service to sell. Could care less if you ever come to Costa Rica. But I do care that if you do come, that you get the truth, the whole truth about living in Costa Rica. So, hey, let's get started on it today. All right. Did you know that there's thousands of people living in Costa Rica on under $750 a month? Matter of fact, we live in a community where the majority of those, I'm not going to say, none of them have a job. And they're living in Costa Rica. How is that possible? Did you know that?
Well, I know our neighbors, they're too far to go to any kind of work, and they're not working on the internet. They're growing their own food. They've built their own houses. They're living very, very meagerly. So
our whole community. So, there's a community, I want to say a couple of miles away. I won't give exact, details. We like to keep the area. We like to keep where we live at private. There's cuckoos out there, and we got some cuckoos that don't like us. And we don't like them. We don't want them coming over here. So we keep the exact location of where we're at, private. But there is a community, a couple of miles away. And in that community, it's quite a large number of people in that community. And none of those people have a job. None of them work online. Alan, how do you know they don't work online? Because there ain't no internet. There ain't no phone signal. Ain't no electricity. Okay. None of them have hot water. None of them have a refrigerator. Okay. So that's how I know. So it's a remote area. Matter of fact, this community has been off-grid community for over 50 years. Okay. So it's pretty amazing. So, when I hear people talk about, oh, it's too expensive living in Costa Rica. Is it really too expensive, or is it you don't want to give up your current lifestyle? You're not willing to make any changes. So here's the thing to think about. There's nothing wrong with having an awesome lifestyle. Okay. There's nothing wrong with spending $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month on your lifestyle. If you can, if you've got the money. But for people to say that they can't afford to live in Costa Rica, I cannot agree on that. Matter of fact, for most of the time that we've lived in Costa Rica, we've lived on close to $1,000 a month. And that's simply because that was very, very intentional. We're trying to save every penny, for when we got here.
But we had more than that a month to spend. So we could, when we wanted to, do what we did this past weekend, go into Dominical. We went to eat at restaurants. We stayed at an Airbnb. You kind of want to be able to do stuff like that. Just because you can live on a little bit doesn't necessarily mean that you want to.
Exactly. But there's a lot of people, who are our age range. And I say our age range and younger because typically in the past, you'd have mostly retirees that would come to Costa Rica because they didn't have to work. Because obviously when you come to Costa Rica, you're not legally allowed to work until you become a resident. Okay. And so, but more and more people, younger people, want to come to Costa Rica because the world is going crazy. Come on, let's face it, it's going nuts out there. And so people are wanting to come to Costa Rica so they can enjoy life, enjoy their freedoms. And they're like, I can't work and it's too expensive for me. Well, you can work. Okay. You just have to think outside the box. You have to work online. And it really, there's lots of things that you're going to do online. But the point is that really your cost of living can be as cheap as you want it to be. Okay. And that's what I said is you might not like the answers I'm going to give you. So I'm going to share a couple of these things that people put in, like Doug. He says, I think, now Doug goes back and forth to, from Costa Rica and his home. And I think he's eventually going to be here full time, but he says, I think, and Doug is married to a Tica wife. A Tica. Okay. A Tica wife, same thing, Tica, right? And so anyway, he says, I think my expenses will be less than $800. That includes the pool, taking care of the pool, a gardener, cleaning, electric, Wi-Fi. He still hadn't figured out the food bill, and that's why he says about $800. So obviously, he's living pretty conservative. And so, hey, okay, it's easy to do. And, Eduardo earlier, I'm going to go and take a look over here. Eduardo, now I'm not quite sure how he's doing it.
No, but he listed it a little further.
Oh, well,
down.
Yeah, okay, but I'm going to get there. He said that, his cost is about $350 a month. He says he doesn't need any caja. And that's the topic that we need to talk about. Only his 180 days, and he goes back and forth, back to where he's at. Now, Eduardo obviously heard me, and he said that he owns his own house. And so that's a big, big, big takeaway. So I've told a lot of people that, hey, look, if you had a $200,000 nest egg, okay, and you saved up $200,000, you could come to Costa Rica. You really could buy a decent place, and then you could easily live on under $1,000 a month. So if you own your house, that really saves you a lot of money monthly on the cost of living because you're not paying rent. So he owns his house. He owns his geo tracker. He grows vegetables, eggs, coffee, fruits. For some of this stuff, he goes to the local farmers. He goes to the Pali to get stuff where it's kind of cheap. He goes to the local farmers market. You can get a lot of stuff at great price at the farmers market. Saves money by flying in Spirit Air. So anyway, he and his Tica wife. They save money. So you really can. It's just totally up to you.
I think that's key, owning your home. And to me, what makes Costa Rica so affordable is utilities, like how we're living up in the mountains. We don't need air conditioning nor heating.
Which,
The mild, I mean, just the perfect temperature. And so I remember living in Louisiana having, in the summer, $400 electric bills. In the winter, having almost $400 electric bills, and it just going down like in the spring and the fall. But here you can build a very modest house here because it doesn't have to be insulated, like
doesn't cost you near as much.
right.
Matter of fact,
and you
real
can grow
soon,
your food all the time because of the temperatures.
Yeah, real soon I'll be actually revealing, after we get moved into our tiny house, I'm going to reveal how much it actually cost us to get it to a point that we are moved in. Okay. And you're going to be shocked. So if you haven't already subscribed and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss that video, I guarantee you're going to be shocked when you find out what it costs for me to build this tiny house. Okay. And this tiny house is 8 foot wide, 32 foot long. You're going to be shocked. Okay. But
yeah. And living expenses, we're talking about just like monthly bills.
Yeah.
And like your monthly things. There's all kinds of extenuating circumstances if you have a medical situation, or you have to, I don't know, a car breaks down. We've had to spend $1,000 on our old car in one time to the mechanic. That would be what somebody would be trying to live on.
Right.
So we're talking about just
your cost
your
of
bills.
living. Yeah,
and
just
that's
your bills.
Considering that you don't have a whole bunch of medications.
And it would be good to actually, it'd be good to have a little bit of money saved up in case you have these breakdowns. So it's always,
right.
It's tough to come to Costa Rica broke. Okay. But
right. And things like going to the doctor a lot, having to go all the time.
That increases things, right?
So even though it's not as high as in other places. But and what Eduardo mentioned about like flying on Spirit, the tickets are cheap, but then you got to watch with that because you can't bring the luggage. I mean, it costs you, for every suitcase and stuff.
Now, and it's like I told you, Leo says a lot of small mom and pop Tico farmers live on dust. Hey, look, we understand completely, this community that we're in. None of them work and they're living. And so your question should be, well, Alan, how is it there's a whole community there? And how is it they're enjoying life in Costa Rica? How is it they're building a house? How is it they're living there? Well, it's pretty simple. Okay. And so write this down, because some of these things are how you could absolutely live in Costa Rica on the cheap. Okay. So number one, the majority of those people, none of them have jobs. Okay. And they don't work online. So those people, they're growing their own vegetables. So look, anywhere in Costa Rica, I don't care where it's at. And a lot of people are like, man, I'm looking for some black, brown dirt. I saw a lot of red dirt in Costa Rica. And that's true. There is a lot of red dirt in Costa Rica. But if you find you a good piece of property, I don't care what kind of dirt it is, it could be the worst dirt in the world, you can change that dirt in 1 year's time. In 1 season, you can change that dirt to some good, healthy black soil. I'll be talking more about that on the off-grid homestead, but you can really change any dirt. So don't ever let that keep you from saying, I can't farm. You can farm. So a lot of people save a ton of money by farming, okay? Now, a lot of Ticos are eating a lot of gallo pinto. That's beans and rice with a little egg in the morning. And then they're eating beans and rice for lunch and rice and beans for supper. So they may not have a huge variety, but they're enjoying life.
Right. Their cuisine is adapted to
whatever is in season.
Right. And so unlike the United States diet, that is a lot of meat, concentration of meat, and meat is super expensive right now. I find that the Costa Rican diet is a little bit of meat.
Yeah, they don't eat this great big humongous serving of meat.
In the U.S., half the plate is meat, and then you got a little bit of vegetable,
right. and you don't see that in Tico families.
No, it's a little bit of meat.
Mm-hmm. Now, Costa Rica for Expats has a good question. Hey, friends, do you think the lower cost of living in these regions, I'm guessing he's talking about the region I'm talking about, is sustainable long term, considering Costa Rica's growing popularity among experts. Hey,
Expats.
absolutely. Expats. That's what I said. I don't know what you heard.
This is recorded.
You ain't got no proof. You think? Anyway, so hey, absolutely, it's sustainable. And I say it's sustainable because, the majority of expats that are coming, even though they're coming, if they come, most of them are not going to these kind of regions we're at. Let's face it, most expats that are coming are spoiled. And look, there's nothing wrong with living on 2,000, 3,000, whatever you live on. Like for example, Eduardo on 350. Well, maybe he doesn't socialize as much or tour as much, but it's kind of like what Doug said earlier. Let me take a look at what.
And when you say spoiled, we're talking about things like how we're kind of spoiled sometimes. We like to go out.
Yeah, we like to go out and eat,
at a restaurant.
This is what Doug is saying. Doug L saying
that's
hey,
outside of the regular budget.
He says we own our own place in Montezuma. We spend about $3,500 a month or more, but they do a lot of socializing, touring. So look, and there's nothing wrong with that at all, right?
It depends on what kind of lifestyle
you want to have. And there's nothing wrong with an extravagant, and look, 3,500 is not an extravagant lifestyle. That's going out to eat. Maybe they don't want to, maybe they don't cook as much. They like to get in there side by side and go touring and check out. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. But you can live on the cheap in Costa Rica. And let's give proof.
And that's what we used to think about when we were in the United States. It's like, what if one of us lost our job? How are we going to live on Social Security? Our house wasn't going to be finished being paid for, or, it'd have to buy another car. Cars only last so long. What are we going to do? Social Security can barely cover our insurance and our utilities.
Yeah.
It's not like that in Costa Rica if you want to live very meager and modest.
And now I'm going to answer all of these questions, and some of the questions not quite related I'll come to later, okay? And Eduardo brings up a good point here. When you're growing your own, you can have a real watermelon with real watermelon seeds. It's not this Monsanto fake or GMO stuff, but you do have to be careful because, hey, I know I got a neighbor that he plants a fairly good garden. I say neighbor, our neighbors are miles away from us, okay? But anyway, this guy plants a big garden, and he plants this big garden, and he brings it in town and he sells it. And that's how he makes a lot of his money. Okay. As he'll plant a big old huge tomato field, and look, his tomato field, bell pepper field looks great, but he uses GMO plants, and so they're pesticide resistant and all that stuff. Grows really fast. I wouldn't ever eat my neighbor's vegetables. Okay. So you do have to be careful because you can, a lot of Costa Ricans, they're doing that and they don't think it's a problem, and they're selling that in the farmer's market. And how do you tell what is good stuff and not? So that's just some of the things you got to know, and the kind of stuff that we're not scared to share with you that actually happened in Costa Rica. Now Muka shared in here that rent is cheaper in Costa Rica. Absolutely. You can get, we've rented as low as $80 a month to $350 a month. And I never paid anything more than that until I lived in Jaco. And when I lived in Jaco, it was $650 a month. Always double and expensive in the touristy areas.
The first place we came was $500.
Okay, that's right. Well, but it was furnished.
It was furnished. That's right. He even had a washer dryer.
Yeah.
It was really
and electricity like to eat us up. We didn't know it was that high. Stop using that dryer. So anyway, it does make a big difference, right? He rents in Santa Ana for $1,250. Rent $1,250, all inclusive. That's everything, okay? And so, hey, so anyway.
Yeah, and that's something you touched on that I want to mention, and we've mentioned it several times before about how expensive the electricity is in that per kilowatt or however they measure it. The more you use, the more expensive per unit of measure it is. Remember the gringo that we met over in Juntas when we first moved here, and
Los
he
Juntas.
had Los Juntas. Yes, he had that house, and he kept it freezing
Yeah.
freezing cold because he was just hot natured. He was
Yeah, he was a big guy.
He was a big guy.
He liked his place cold.
Yeah, and he paid for it.
He paid dearly.
I think it was like $800
He
a
paid,
month?
yeah, he paid a lot, and it wasn't that big of a place, but he paid a lot. So, so while I'm thinking about it, okay, so I told you, there's thousands upon thousands of people in Costa Rica living on under $750 a month. How did I know that? That's because the average, now I'm not talking about San Jose and the metropolitan area, okay? Things are different there. But people living outside of San Jose and metropolitan area, and I'm talking about Ticos, okay, most of them make under $750 a month. If you're a teacher, they start out at about $1,000 a month, and that is considered a cush job. Man, you raking in the dough if you're a teacher, okay?
And you're getting these statistics off of
Costa
Rican website.
Not off Costa Rican websites. I get these statistics off of talking and asking the locals, hey, how much do you make a month? How much do you make a month? So I've talked to so many people. These are the average I'm getting. And I compare that, to with what the actual, you can download a spreadsheet, a PDF on what is the average wages that you should pay people. What's a minimum wage? Okay. So you can look and see what those wages are per month.
That's what I was referring to. It suggests if you're going to hire someone, how much you should pay them. And so that's based on the national averages.
That's right. So, if the majority of the people are living on $750 a month, these are Ticos. Okay. I'm about to say something that I don't like. Okay. Because I hear this all the time, and I don't like it, but it's the truth. You can live in Costa Rica on the cheap if live like a Tico. I don't want to be a Tico. But if you, nothing wrong with that. I got some great Tico neighbors. But here's the important thing. If you live like a Tico, they have learned how to manage their money, live like a Tico. And so, yes, they're not extravagant. Doggone it, man. You want to know why you cannot find a used store in Costa Rica? Why you can't find, there's no such things as garage sales in Costa Rica. You want to know why? Because when they use it up until it ain't no good. I mean, it is gone. I mean, when they throw it out, ain't nobody taking it out of the trash.
If it's on the side of the road, you just leave it there.
Ain't no going through it. So, when you understand, if you learn how to live like a Tico. So, and look, most Ticos, they don't have a closet full of clothes. Okay. So, so it's, so that's why I say, there's thousands of people. The majority of the Ticos outside the San Jose metropolitan area are living in Costa Rica on $750,000 a month. Now, why is it? Let me tell you something. That I tell you that the government, okay, the government itself believes that anybody can live in Costa Rica and be happy on $1,000 a month. Why do I say that? That's because if you want to retire in Costa Rica and you're a pensionado, they only require you to prove that you have $1,000 a month. And in Costa Rica's mind, the government says, if you've got $1,000 a month, then you can enjoy life because you're making more than the majority of the Ticos. So if you got $1,000 a month retirement check from the government, then you can enjoy Costa Rica. So you see, while there's a lot of channels out there telling you, oh, you got to have $3,000 a month, $2,000 a month. Well,
that's probably to live at their standard.
If you want to continue living, so while it's nice to have that extra money, keep in mind, if you want to come to Costa Rica, but you don't have a lot of money and you're wondering, is it possible? Well, we just told you how it is possible and how thousands of people are doing it. Okay. Like I said, you might not like that answer, but yes, you can do it. Now, hey, kind of like Muka was saying right here, we've done it for a long time because we've been living in a barn. And he says, I'm a Marine, but I don't want to live in a barn with critters and use trash cans instead of flushing. It's only temporary. So, we understand that, hey, we're doing what we're doing because it is temporary and we're building our dream. So, hey, won't be long. We'll have that septic system in and we'll be able to flush the toilet.
Looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to that. So
you're the one that handles the bucket.
I handle the bucket, but hey,
I draw a line there.
She's pretty good, but she draws a line at the bucket. She ain't doing the bucket. Okay. I got to do the bucket. But hey, there's tiny house people that have composting toilets all the time. And I thought about the whole composting toilet thing. But you know what? When I'm sitting there thinking, I just think I don't want to have to do the composting toilet forever. I'll do it temporarily, but not forever. So anyway, so anyhow, so I'm kind of going to scan through some of these right here. So you share how is it we've saved a lot of money living in Costa Rica.
Well, we've lived very simply. We bought paid cash for our car, so we don't have a car note. Of course, it's like 20 something, almost 30 years old. But the downside of that is that when we do have it repaired, the parts are expensive because they don't really make these vehicles anymore. A good thing is that, like the car insurance, the annual Marchamo,
Mm-hmm.
it is based on the value of your vehicle. So if you're poor and you have an old car like we do,
Marchamo's not that much, about $200 a year.
It's cheap. In fact, the motorcycles Marchamo is
more
expensive than the car.
It's a newer vehicle.
Yeah, it's a newer motorcycle. So that's one way of savings. We don't have utilities. We don't eat a lot of meat. In fact, for long stretches, we've gone without eating any meat. Let's see how else. Well, we don't have any rent, but when we have had rent, we've always rented.
So let's talk about that.
Well, wait, I was.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, go right ahead. Be my guest. Our guest today is Rebecca. She's been living in Costa Rica a long time.
Okay, so we've lived in very meager houses that most people from the United States, I would
probably
say, would not live in. But we just are doing it. It's
and the point is, you can. I mean, and
but we've known that it was temporary.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Every place, and we've looked at it as an adventure, and we looked at it as we were scoping out the area to see, if it's a place that we want to live in, and maybe we would look at it differently if it's where we were going to live forever.
Absolutely.
We'd be like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like that. I would want to change this. There's no carport. There's no P-trap. There's no protection from the mosquitoes. All those kinds of things that we've experienced.
There's no inside walls.
Yeah, it rains in the house. But
and that's one way that you can save a lot of money on your monthly expenses. Because did you know? Okay, and I bet you didn't. The majority of the Ticos who are renting a house, when they rent a house, they're renting a house, it's $100, $150 a month. Now, there are nicer places, but when they're renting a house, keep in mind that most houses that you rent, Ticos that are renting houses, they're renting you 4 walls. Not that it only has 4 walls, but when I say that, the majority of the houses we rented, the only thing that was there were walls, okay? There were no sinks. We had to put in the sink because whenever a Tico would rent it, they'd put in a sink. When they moved out, they'd take the sink. So there's several houses where I installed a kitchen sink, okay?
And we're talking
or
about
installed the kitchen cabinet.
A light bulb, not a light fixture, just a light bulb. And there'd be a bar, but no bar stools.
Yeah.
Or
things there's
like
a kitchen counter, but there's no shelves or anything.
Yeah. So when we say there's cheap rent, there is cheap rent, but
whether you would live there or not is another story.
Right.
So we'd have ugly plastic all over the place because we knew it was going to be temporary.
But if you have a little bit of money, we've known people that bought Tico houses, and we say Tico houses because that's in the countryside, they get these concrete houses.
Yeah, prefab concrete houses.
Concrete
or
floor.
The original old Tico houses that were cement blocks for 1 meter up and then wood to the top, and the wood was eat out by termites.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you get a concrete floor, unfinished, concrete walls, and a tin ceiling. I mean, a tin roof, and
and no ceilings in most of them.
Sometimes a ceiling, but a lot of times no ceiling, just the tin roof. But we've seen people put money into that. Get that piece of property and make that little house into what, something that they like.
Yeah. And
simple thing like putting glass on the windows.
Yeah. And, because a lot of houses don't have glass on the windows. It's just wooden shutters. We actually house sat in one house for almost a year Didn't have it didn't have any glass in the windows. It was
Mhm.
just wooden shutters. We'd open them up every day, close them every evening.
Or a
So
lot of houses have those
and they didn't have a
slats.
ceiling in their house.
No, their walls. It was a pole barn kind of.
Yeah, and so
And they were trying to sell it for $500,000.
they were trying to sell this pole barn with no ceiling, no windows. Wow. They were smoking too much. I don't know what they were on. And now check, Randy says, I want to live without AC or heat. And you
We
absolutely
do too. That's what we
can,
love. Open air.
I mean, I love living without AC or heat, but you just got to go find the right altitude. And you can do that from about 3,000 feet up. Okay.
Yeah,
a little bit lower, it gets hot. But look,
we were
where
on
it's
the
hotter,
beach this weekend, and it was so nice to get into that air conditioner. I guess your body gets acclimated to it because it did when we lived on the coast for a while.
That one house we lived in only had air conditioner. We lived right on the beach in Estorrillos, and it only had air conditioners in the bedroom, and we got used to it.
We did. Our
but
bodies
you
got
needed
used
fans
to
to circulate the air, move air around, right? So now Edwin asked, can you go strictly solar panel? Absolutely. We're going strictly solar panel, okay? And eventually I will be putting in hydro to supplement it, okay? So you can easily go strictly solar. You want to be sure to contact me so that I can send you a trusted guy, okay? Man, look, when I was researching solar, I had people trying to sell me a $10,000 battery for my solar. I'm like, what? Are you crazy? That thing better do more than just be a battery. It better make me coffee and wake me up in the morning. But you can get conned in a heartbeat, so you got to be careful. And I did some extensive research to find the guy that installed my solar system. And look, my solar system cost me about $6,000, 6 panels, 2 batteries, and I've made an upgrade recently. But anyway, that's what it cost me when I originally started that, okay? So anyway, now Eduardo asked a question here. I'm not quite sure. He says, I don't know if I move to Costa Rica, do I have to send all of my SSA and Social Security to Costa Rica, or do I have to send it at all? And look, you don't have to have any of your retirement in Costa Rica at all. If I were you, if you come to retire, just have your retirement go into your local bank in the United States. Your Social Security does not have to go into a Costa Rica bank account. Have your retirement checks. While I have a couple of banks in Costa Rica, that's just my petty cash, man. I put that stuff in there so that if I need to charge or anything, I can do what I need to do. Sending money back and forth, all that good stuff. But all my main money stays in my American bank account, okay? And that way, I just go to the ATM machine and withdraw what I need when I need it. Withdraw big chunk, stick it into my Costa Rican bank. So
and
that's what I would do.
All the stores we use take our debit and credit cards.
Yeah, absolutely.
From U.S. accounts, and you just have to show proof of that income that you earn it. You don't have. It doesn't have to come into Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And someone mentioned, I think it was
now, Evelina has a great question. Says, people are telling me both that the weather is horrible. You can't grow your own food, and that it's great to do so, which is true. Well, I can tell you from experience that, hey, look, no matter where you are in Costa Rica, you can absolutely grow your own food. It's amazing. It's awesome. If people are telling you it's horrible, you do have to learn how to grow food. And you can grow food in Costa Rica 365 days a year. But during the rainy season, you got to learn how to grow it in the rainy season, okay? That really means, and all the ticos, they cover their stuff up with plastic. So, yes, you can absolutely grow. And look, there's a farmer's market in every single town. So, I don't know who's telling you that you can't grow your stuff in Costa Rica, because there's a farmer's market in every town. How's it they're growing stuff?
Yeah, like you were saying, you have to, in the dry season, you have to protect it from the heat, and you have to make sure it gets enough water.
Yeah.
And the rainy season can destroy a crop real easily because of the heavy rains, but you learn how to protect.
Yeah.
From that as well.
It's living in Costa Rica is really nice. Living in the elevation, there's a lot of people come to Costa Rica and they think they want to live on the beach, and in just a short time they're moving into higher climates because, man, it is sticky and it's hot by the beach, and then there's more mosquitoes. Okay, so if you want that spring-like climate all year round, there's a lot of places. Tinamaste has that spring-like climate all year round. Anywhere you get about 4,000 feet. And there's a lot of places in the San Isidro, Paris, Zeledon area. And you go up in those mountains, lots of places where it's spring-like temperature all year round.
And San Jose and all those surrounding.
I don't want to live in the city, but the San Jose metropolitan area, man, that is the perfect spring-like atmosphere all year round.
And there are a lot of areas that are kind of like communities outside of the city. You're still close to the city, but it's more of a rural community, and you're maybe an hour from the beach, you know.
Yeah.
So we don't care for it that much because we want to be more away from the city. But a lot of people need to be kind of close to the city.
You know, some people do need to be there, you know. Now, I'm just going to throw this up here for Rebecca. Eduardo says, hey, this is to Rebecca. I let my Tika wife talk for me, think for me. I let her do everything for me. Do this, Rebecca. Wait a minute.
I don't usually give him a hard time. That's why I was laughing, because he's not used to me. I just let him do.
Rebecca, she will just monopolize the conversation. She just don't even let me talk. I have some people, you know, we talk over each other a whole lot. And I have some people give me a hard time saying I don't let Rebecca talk enough. But
I'm glad you talk that much. That's what people don't realize. If I really have something to say, y'all don't worry about me. We have our little signal. I tap his leg. That lets him know I got something important to say, and he always lets me say it. I'm glad you talk so much. I wouldn't be able to do this by myself. And even in our personal life, when we're not on, you know, on a podcast live or whatever, I love that you're always talking. I just listen. You're so entertaining. You're always making me laugh.
I don't know what the deal is, but I'm kind of like Forrest Gump.
I mean,
you know, I look, life is too short not to have fun. So I'm always playing and picking, but it's always friendly picking. It's never mean picking. I don't like that. You know, I like to just have a good old, you know, I think we all should have just enjoy life.
Yeah. And when you get frustrated, I just let you do.
Man, that's probably the best thing, because it'll pass.
It does pass.
You know, hey, check out what Joseph says. He says he lives at Lake Arenal area. He has a beautiful 1-bedroom loft apartment. His rent is $445. Now, you tell me where in the United States can you be, you know, around Lake Arenal, around any
and
lake,
it includes
and
electricity
have rent
and
for
water.
$445. That includes electricity and rent
and
Wi-Fi. Dude, you better hang on to that.
Yeah,
you get the deal.
With
$1 million view.
Yeah.
See? So, you know, and it's true, because there's still tons of places like that in Costa Rica. Hey, thanks for sharing that, you know. And look, William, we talking about temperature. He says that Garcia area, I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong, is like 72 degrees pretty much all the time. And look, those are places that are kind of
that's outside,
close, but outside the metropolitan area, right?
Right. Like there's parts of Alajuela, even though it's right by the airport, there's neighborhoods that sing country, you know. They like where we go to drop off the car, where the Park and Fly place.
Yeah, the Park and Fly place.
I mean, that's kind of like out in the countryside.
Yeah, it's in the country, about 20 minutes away from the airport, you know. So, and check out what Edwin, he has a question. He says, as a veteran, I'm a veteran as well. I researched that in Heredia, there is a clinic that cares for vets with service-connected disabilities. Is that true? I'm hoping that soon I can do a video about that, but I'm discovering more information. And but anyway, I've got some of my vet stuff being taken care of while in Costa Rica. So while it's not nearly as great as in the United States, there are some hospitals, some doctors that have gone through the vet program, and so they're vet, you know, they're service providers for vets. So you have to do your research. And I know this one guy, super good guy, that I want to have speak on the channel as a guest, and he can share more of that stuff. And I think he knows more. He knows way more about that stuff than I do, because he's a vet as well. So anyway, you can get some veteran stuff here, just not everything. And a lot of it depends on your disability rating, what kind of vet you are, you know, a lot of things like that. Okay. So I wish I could give you more answers to that, but I know you can get some things taken care of here. Okay. And now, hey, William here says, sounds like he's answering that question. He says, yes, there is. I get all my meds delivered to the house for free. So, William, would you clarify? Are you saying you get your meds delivered to your house in Costa Rica for free as a vet? I'd like to know the answer to that. Thanks for sharing that. Now, Muko says that you have to sign up for the farm program through the VA to get reimbursed. I've heard a little bit about that, but I don't have all of the truth. Hey, big thanks for Costa Rica Expat says that we the best couple ever. Woohoo!
It's taken a lot of time.
I tell you, I've had to put up with some crap, but I wipe my butt every time. Hey, Muka says, yes, on vets, but you have to go to SEMA. So that's a SEMA hospital, and they have a vet rep. Woo! Thanks for sharing that, Muka. So anyway, hey, lots of, good information. That's what I really love about these live podcasts. When these live podcasts, we got people on here, and they're all sharing their experience, and that's what helps a whole lot. Because I used to think I knew everything, and then I married her, and I realized I didn't know nothing.
Yeah, and we just know from our perspective, and so we just kind of share from that. But things are changing all the time. Different, laws, rules. Try to stay up on it, but
and things are changing all the time. But we do have. Check out. William replied. William says, I go to Heredia. Form 224, all meds free. Get out of town. So they're delivering he lives in Heredia, and they're delivering all his meds. I was going to say 224 of them, but it's Form 224 that he fills out and gets all his meds free. Hey, thanks for sharing that. I greatly appreciate you taking time to share that.
And thank you guys for your service to our country.
And now, Evelina asked a question, says, do you prefer Costa Rica or Colombia for private system medical, and why? And, I really can't answer that question because I've never been to Colombia. I couldn't answer that question. And, of course, she might be, asking other people that might have that experience. If you know that answer, you can answer Evelina, But, hey, we checked out several different areas, checked out Panama, checked out this. But, we've never lived in any other areas. And, here's what I like, and you can save so much money in Costa Rica because, let's talk about dental. Let's talk about medical. Someone actually asked a question about medical and, is the medical superior to the United States? I don't think the medical is superior. I don't think the dental is superior. Would I say that they're the same? They have just as good a doctors, have just as good a dentists as in the United States. It all boils down to that individual and how much that individual has a spirit of excellence. But the point is, you can get exceptional dental care, exceptional medical care, and it's always so much cheaper here because it's just a different system. And that's why medical and dental tourism is huge in Costa Rica. So, you can save a ton of money by coming here. Now, like for me, I'm extremely healthy, and a lot of people save a ton of money because when they come to Costa Rica, they just get healthier. There's something about living stress-free, getting off the hamster wheel. You can save a ton of money, okay? And so you get healthier, and you're saving money by not being sick. A lot of different things. So anyway, you could save a ton of money when it comes to that. So anyway,
but I can tell you, it's no fun to live broke.
It's tough to live broke.
If you can only afford your monthly bills and you can't afford to go see things or do things.
Yeah, imagine we just came back and spent a couple of days in Dominical. Had a whole lot of fun. Rebecca sees the monkeys here all the time, but she had to go to her favorite little restaurant at La Parcela so that she can watch the monkeys come at 4:30. They got seats reserved for them every evening at 4:30.
That's true.
So, but think about it. If we didn't have money to go out and do things like that, it kind of be a bummer. Now you can still enjoy life, right? our neighbors come over and eat with us, and we have a great time. But they're enjoying life, and they don't do nearly as much stuff as we do.
Another thing I really like that's different from when we lived in the U.S. is because of the weather, because of the temperatures, you can walk anywhere. If you want to walk to the grocery store, if you want to just go for a walk for enjoyment, it's doable. I remember in Louisiana, you could not go walking just in the middle of the day. I can remember coming out of the house to get in my car and breaking a sweat just because it was so hot and humid at 8 o'clock in the morning, leaving to go to work. And the mosquitoes wanting to tote us off when it started getting kind of dark. And we don't experience any of that here. We can go for a walk almost any time of the day. Of course, we're at a higher altitude.
Look at right now in Louisiana right now. There's no way we could sit right here.
No, we'd be
tore up by the mosquitoes and the bugs.
Right, but because of this cooler temperature, we don't have. And in Dominical over the weekend, we went for walks. We walked for breakfast. Before breakfast, we walked, did all the little sightseeing shops and all of that, and So the point I was going to make with that is that you can live a healthier lifestyle, because I like to walk. I like to walk outdoors, and I wasn't really able to do that much in Louisiana, except for, that's why I keep fading out. I couldn't do that much in Louisiana because of the mosquitoes, temperatures, and the mosquitoes.
Doug agrees with me. He says, I couldn't live like a Tico. He says, we've worked hard to go backwards in retirement, and if I understand what he's saying, you work hard, and you're working hard, you're not getting to enjoy life the way you want to. And so when you come to Costa Rica and you're retired, you want to spend that retirement and enjoy life, because you feel like you've missed out your entire life working hard, so when you're retired, why not enjoy life? Why not socialize? Why not go out and do things? Why not tour? Right. So I agree with you completely, Doug,
And another thing is, you can really get into a place where you miss your family a lot. And just knowing that you have the finances to fly back if you absolutely wanted to or needed to, that just gives a sense of peace, I guess. So if you're living just on what you bring in and you have nothing at all saved, with that, if somebody gets sick in your family, or there's just a baby being born or something like that, and you want to be able to fly back and be with your family, and you can't because of you don't have any finances, that can be a depression, so we always try to have that available to us.
We enjoy being in Costa Rica. We enjoy knowing, that we can grow our own food. We enjoy, there's a lot of stuff that I'll be sharing more and more, on what we're doing here and how you can do the same thing, which brings up this question right here. Evelina says, you've talked before how Tico spray everything down, and she has a word there. I don't know what they're spraying it down with, but they're spraying their stuff down with all kind of chemicals. My neighbor I told you about that lives a couple of miles away from here, like clockwork. I think Tuesday and Thursday, he is spraying stuff all over his chemicals all over his stuff. Now, his stuff is beautiful, grows good. Okay. And she asked, well, how can you tell which ones are legit organic, not sprayed with stuff, more other than taking their word for it? And I wish I could answer that question, but you know what? Maybe somebody here knows how you can tell. I don't know how you can tell. Now, I know that over in the Rivas area, there was this one farmer's market, and that whole thing at that farmer's market is that this is an organic farmer's market. And I know that my neighbor, because I was renting his house, his garden was what he called organic garden. And so I didn't see him putting all kind of stuff on his garden, although I did see some stuff, and I questioned, is that organic or not? So really, I don't know how you can tell. And so that's why, hey, you don't know what you're buying. Okay. And that's why I'm scared to eat chicken. If you knew how they produce chicken, man, there's all kind of chemicals and hormones and stuff. You would never eat chicken again if you knew how that stuff was produced.
And you're not talking about in Costa Rica.
No, I'm not talking about Costa Rica. I'm talking about chicken in the United States, So, but anyway, there's a lot of things that I like to be healthy. And so, I'm pretty anal on being healthy and exercise and eating right. So, I'm just real careful on what I eat. Now,
at the farmers markets, it's easy enough to get to know a particular farmer,
it is.
talk to them. And like at that farmers market you were talking about in Rivas, they kind of prided themselves on that it was organic, and they know each other. We might not have known them, but they knew each other, and so they kind of kept it where they wouldn't allow.
Okay, so and look, Muka here answers a question for us. He says, as a former organic crop consultant in the United States, you can't tell really if it comes out of the country or if it's organic or not. There are no regs in Costa Rica, and I'm glad you brought that up. In the United States, it might have all kind of regulations, but in the United States, in Costa Rica, there are no regulations. All you got to do is say it's organic, okay? And you don't have to go prove anything. So, there's a lot of things that are very, very different in Costa Rica. All they got to do is say it's organic. And if they say it's organic, they know that gringos are stupid. They'll pay a whole lot of money for that organic stuff, and it might not really be organic. So it's like Rebecca said, though, you can get to know these farmers. Hey, get to know them. Go visit their farm. Get to talking to them, and then you can find out how, what their stuff is. Okay. Yeah. And so that's probably one way that Mike can help you out, Evelina. Now, so this person says, isn't it cheaper to live in Nicaragua? I think it is. I'm not 100% certain. I know it's a whole lot cheaper to live in Panama. I do know that according to a lot of different facts, statistics, well, Costa Rica is the most expensive Latin America country. And while it is but it's coming back, and there it's back. So it all boils down to your lifestyle. Costa Rica can be as expensive or as cheap as you'd like it to be. Mm-hmm. So really, that's really what it's all about. Yeah. So
and places like Nicaragua, Costa Rica has kind of an influx of Nicaraguans who are leaving their country
because they don't like it there.
Yeah, not because of prices, but because of the
government.
The government, yeah. the rulers, the dictators there that are really hoard. Yeah, that. And
talking, there's so many ways that you can save money in Costa Rica. And check out what Pamela says. Her and Thomas had a lot of dental work done in Costa Rica. 3 years ago, they saved over $48,000 on dental procedures that they had done in Costa Rica. Dang, I didn't know we had enough teeth to cost $48,000. Dang. So yeah, you can save a ton of money by getting your dental work done in Costa Rica. And look, I just got through, my braces came off not too long ago. Right now, I still wear a retainer in the evening, and I'll be doing an update about that really soon. Okay. And Doug threw in here talking about organic. He says organic is nothing but filling out the right paperwork. You can call your stuff organic. Okay. So, hey, now Edwin here, he throws in here as we talking about Nicaragua. He says, look, Edwin says, I'm from Nicaragua. It really hurts me to tell you, Nicaragua is not the place to be. The government will take your stuff and they don't care. Hey, Edwin, thank you so much. I really appreciate that you share that truth. Okay. And that's what we hear on this channel. We don't have anything to sell. And so.
And that's why I didn't want to say too much like about Nicaragua, because it's just stuff that I've read and don't know factually and have not experienced. So, it's hard to trust a lot of what's on the internet nowadays, but before you move to a country, for sure, research their culture, not just their culture.
You need to do a lot of research, and it's hard to find a good channel that's going to tell you the truth. See, we don't have anything to sell, and someone jumped on my case. What do you got to prove, Alan? I don't have nothing to prove. Okay. And that's my point. Since I don't have nothing to prove, it really burns me up when I see channels out there trying to rip you off. Okay. And so I call them out. I do, because for me, I think that, coming to Costa Rica is hard enough as it is, and you don't need channels. You don't need gringos taking advantage of you because you don't know any better, and making money off of you because you don't know any better.
Yeah.
And so
a good resource is Tico Times.
It's a pretty good resource.
Yeah, it's on the internet, ticotimes.net, is it?
I think it's ticotimes.net. But you can
net.
just go to Google, put in Tico Times, and get some information.
Yeah. And you can read backstories, about things happening in the government, things happening as far as crime, prices, housing, all these different things. It's a good resource to get a feel.
Now, as we were talking about, pesticides in Costa Rica, and Joseph shared right here, he says, did you know a container load of pineapples was arriving in Holland from Costa Rica, and the agricultural department would not clear it because of the super high pesticide levels? Yes, absolutely. And people don't realize it. And Costa Rica doesn't tell you about that. It's always talking about how green they are, how green they are, how green they are.
Mm-hmm.
But per capita, Costa Rica uses way more pesticides than the United States. They just don't have all the regulations that we have in Costa Rica. And
part of it is that they have these regulations, but they're not being.
There's nobody enforcing a lot of this stuff.
Because one of the main reasons we moved to Costa Rica was for clean water, clean air, clean food, clean living.
Yeah.
And I remember us being so shocked seeing the sewage run.
Seeing the sewage
on the
running
side of the street.
On the side of the street, right down to the river.
Sitting at a restaurant that overlooked the river and seeing the gray water or pipes just coming like from the kitchen
from
of
all of the houses.
and just going straight into the river. So not all the areas are like that, but we have seen a lot of.
I've seen a lot of that because we live in remote areas. And Costa Rica is getting better and better and better all the time. It is a slow process. I remember when we first came down here, looking around trying to find a lawnmower. Man, I could not find a lawnmower anywhere. But like William says, hey, Alan, I saw a riding lawnmower at the hardware store. Wow, first.
And we're seeing more and more of that.
Yeah,
I actually saw them cutting the football field with a riding lawnmower. It looked like one of those zero radius things too.
No way.
It looked like it. I'm telling you.
So there's a lot of things, and it's been interesting to be here for almost 11 years now, and to be able to see how Costa Rica has grown so much just in those 11 years. How much change? But hey, absolutely, folks. Look. It has indeed, like Randy said, been another great live stream. We're already over the top of the hour. And absolutely, look, this is the only channel where you're going to get the whole truth, the good, the bad, and the ugly right here. We just love all of you guys taking the time to show up. We greatly appreciate all of you. We love doing this, and it's always way more fun when you can show up to the live stream. It's always a lot of fun. We've seen, I think, about 50 people on the live stream today, and it really shocks me that we can have 14,000 subscribers but only 50 show up. But hey, we know people are busy. A lot of people just watch the replays. A lot of people don't want to spend an hour. But hey, we really just absolutely love having all of you guys here. And hey, like Rick says here, hey, always wash your fruits and vegetables before consuming. I know we always do. Even the stuff I grow, I wash it. Man, I don't want no bug poo on my stuff. I wash everything.
Yeah, we put the mulberries in a bowl of water, and these little bugs would just come to the top. So we get rid of those, and then I use a vinegar. Vinegar will kill a lot of things.
And if you noticed how beautiful my windows looked in the tiny house on that video, well, all I did was use a good soft cloth and vinegar and water combination to clean the windows. It's amazing. Look, there's a lot of organic stuff, a lot of just normal stuff. You don't have to spend. So hey, folks, I'm gonna let you guys rock and roll. Hey, thanks guys for showing up. Y'all have an awesome night. Can't wait to see you next week. And we're gonna be talking about, well, how you can be in Costa Rica for free. What? Not cheap, but free. Yeah, we're going to talk about how you can be in Costa Rica for free. I'll talk at you next week. Have fun, folks. Make sure, like, share, comment after this is over. Comment under the video so we can get some algorithm love. Talk to you later.
Bye, y'all.